Yes, please start.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Indian section, we welcome you to the study class of the Mahatma letters. Before beginning, let's all join together in the universal invocation. O hidden light, vibrant in every atom, light shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. So today we continue letter number 136 with our beloved speaker Vibhaji, who doesn't need any introduction. Her brilliance, her clarity really helps us all to get better insights. Welcome, Vibhaji.
Thank you so much, Vimalji. I am so thankful for this, love that you have showered on me, and of course, all the members whom I have been meeting also. So, yes, we are studying this chronological letter number 136. It is written by Mahatma KH to AP Sinnett. And in this, Mahatma ji has explained the bewildering situation, those distressing events which were unfolding. But he adds that whoever has been faithful and true to me, the fruits of your devotion shall not be allowed to decay and crumble down into dust from the tree of action. So this is a point of so much reassurance for us that despite of all those distressing events, the ones, the members who have been faithful and devoted to the masters, their actions do not go waste. And Mahatma Ji says that none of the members have ever formed an accurate idea of either the masters or their guiding occult laws. This is very true even now. Many people do not know who or what the master is, what and how those occult laws they guide the masters. So, with reference to the Kittle incident, we have already seen Mahatma Ji explained the difference in the ways between the Western society and the society of the or the world of the Mahatmas. And there Mahatma Ji added that we are not infallible, all foreseeing Mahatmas at every hour of the day. Okay, so we really need to understand practically what the Mahatmas are. Then the master also says that he cannot give out all their occult knowledge indiscriminately to people. The occult forces, they cannot be treated like the physical forces in nature. The physical forces are just the rind or the covering of the occult forces. And those occult forces are so powerful that even the adepts, the masters, who have devoted their lives in learning, in study and experiment, they have often lost their life in their struggle to unravel these secrets of nature. So that is the potency, the force of those occult forces. And in our previous session, we had a question on what are these 7 occult forces. If we complete today early, then we can have some discussion on that. Now we will continue. So this is the part till where we had covered last time. I will share the slides to continue further. Having some difficulty in sharing, let me try again. Okay, I think now it's available. So we completed till this slide number 14, where he's talking about why he cannot share his knowledge indiscriminately. Okay. So further Master says that who thought for one instant that an occult law revealed ceased to be occult to become public property unless it was given to an occultist who dies before he betrays the secret. So obviously, if you give away a secret, then it is no longer a secret. It becomes public knowledge. And these occult laws or the occult knowledge, they are given to the initiates, to the true occultists. And these members, these initiates or the occultists, they would rather die than betray the secrets. So indiscriminately giving it out to public, it is not advisable and not done. And that was the reason what grumblings, what criticism on Devachan and kindred subjects for their incompleteness and many a seeming contradiction. O blind fools! The people, they grumbled, they criticized the masters, but it was the people who were ignorant. They found fault and they found contradictions in what the teachings were given to them on the subjects like Devachan and similar topics. But, says the master, that they forget or they never knew that he who holds the keys to the secrets of death is possessed of the keys of life. So, when they were giving out this knowledge about the seven planes, and they spoke about the physical, astral, mental, and they spoke about what happens after death and the Devachanic plane. So, in that knowledge, if we go more deeper in that knowledge, Master says that he who holds the keys to the secrets of death is possessed of the keys of life. That will what? That knowledge will impart immortality. Now, this is a very revealing statement. And what does this really mean? See, man has always wanted to conquer death. Man, from time immemorial, man has tried to discover the elixir of life, which would make him immortal. But to attain an immortal life, it is first necessary to learn what is the meaning of mortality, what is the meaning of death. So, what is it that really lives and what is it that dies? This needs to be contemplated. Now, it is said that that which is immutable, that which is unchanging, that is immortal. And everything which is changing, everything which has a beginning or an end, it is mortal or it is subject to death. So, in this respect, in this context, we must examine our septenary nature. So, man in his constitution, Theosophy says, he is made of this seven principles. The upper triad, which is his individuality, and the lower quaternary, which is his personality. So, this evolution of man through these seven principles, the upper triad and the lower quaternary, it happens in cycles. He evolves in cycles. And man can harness the secrets of death and achieve conscious immortal life if he understands that how these principles evolve over the cycles. See, before I go further, I'll just explain this a little bit more. It is said that the real man or the real immortal man is the upper triad, and personality is that which perishes. After every life, the physical death is there, and then after a while, the personality also perishes. So, death is applicable to personality, the lower quaternary. And the individuality or the upper triad, it endures. So, it is said to be immortal. Now, this immortality is for the duration of the planetary Manvanta. Okay, so we are talking about the cycles now. Now, to attain conscious existence in this individuality, right now we are conscious only in personality. But if we attain conscious existence in the individuality, then there is no death for us. Because personality will die, but consciousness remains existent in the upper triad. So, immortality is attained for the entire planetary Manvantar. Now, this upper triad, it is made of, it is constituted of Atma, Buddhi, Manas. Okay. So to attain conscious existence in the upper duat, that is Atma, Buddhi, which actually we call as monad. This is equivalent to attaining immortality in the solar Manvantar. So out of Atma, Buddhi, Manas, what is immortal? Atma, Buddhi. We may use the term that this is the death which is applicable to the individualizing principle, that is the Mansik principle. But remember, death is not a real term applicable to Manas, because Manas can never die. What is really meant by death of Manas is that Manas is rendered so pure that it is totally pervaded by the light of Buddhi. Okay, that is the meaning, that mind is absolutely still. It is rendered so pure that it is totally pervaded by the light of Buddhi. So in essence, it is becoming one with Buddhi. That is the meaning death of Manas or annihilation. But there's no annihilation, no death for Manas. Okay, it is immortal. But it is absorbed in the Buddhic consciousness. So that is the conscious existence of eternal monadic life. Okay, there is no individuality, there is universality. So this is called the conscious existence of eternal monadic life, that is the immortality in the solar Manvantar. Okay. So planetary Manvantar and solar Manvantar, these are the cycles. In each you can have a death and you can have an immortal part of the septenary constitution. And therefore Mahatma Ji mentions that he who holds the keys to the secret of death is possessed of the keys of life. Now further, these septenary cycles, as they proceed, smaller cycles within the larger cycles, and within even more larger cycles, these septenary principles of man, they mature one by one. More and more, as these principles are maturing, more and more of knowledge gets revealed from within man. All knowledge comes from within, and the power becomes manifest with each of these maturing of the principles. So that happens with the races, then with the next globe, and then with the next round. Okay. So presently we know humanity is evolving through the fifth root race. We are on the fourth globe and in the fourth round of the earth chain. So the sixth and seventh root races, they are still to come. They are still to evolve before evolution is completed on this globe. And not all the souls are fit for this path of initiation, for speeding up their evolution through initiation. So if suppose the masters gave out all the knowledge possessed by them, all the occult knowledge, and suppose if the people were able to acquire, grasp all these truths so easily, so that they would become a creative God now itself in the present, then there would be no need for the sixth and seventh race, right? The divine plan, which is the plan of evolution, which is the program of being and becoming these rounds and races, that would become distorted. It would become perverted. The universal laws which are governing this evolution, which is the book of life. So those laws would become all messed up, right? And what we call the deity, law is the deity. Law is the eternal will. So that will would stand defeated. If all the knowledge is given now, if the people grasp it and they become creative gods, then the eternal will, the law, that stands defeated. Therefore, Mahatma KH, he regrets deeply his inability to satisfy the honest, sincere aspirations of a few chosen people, few chosen among Sinnett's group who aspired for this knowledge. He says, no, it cannot be given right away, and all of it. So all this crisis, this blow after blow, which was shaking the Theosophical Society to its foundations, and the members of the London Lodge, they had absolutely no idea of the enormity of its consequence. No, but the Mahatmas, they have the full knowledge. For them, everything is like an open book. They have this knowledge. This crisis, it would be like a question of life or death of the entire humanity. That is what Mahatma Ji is trying to impress, the seriousness of the situation. Whether the Theosophical Society, it failed or whether it floated, on this depended the spiritual destruction or the salvation of the people, of thousands of people. On this depended whether the human race would progress or regress. That is the progress of the human race or its retrogression. On this depended the glory of mankind or its dishonor, whether it would progress to spirituality towards its glory or whether it would move to dishonor. And above all, Mahatma Ji says that on this depended the question of being or not being. Not being meaning annihilation for the majority of this race. Our fifth root race, majority of it, if it retrogresses, it will fall back to misery, war, destruction. And that would be the annihilation of the majority of this race. If this knowledge, if the true knowledge of theosophy does not come to the people. So the crisis prevalent at the time, it was much due to the missionary world as it was due to the materialistic science of that time. Both of these were contributing to all this crisis. And Master advises Sinnett to open his eyes to the root of evil and to work in the direction to remedy this situation and to disclose to the people the dishonorable doings of the missionary world. So that was about the Coulomb affair. Then we come to the next question. Why is it that doubts and foul suspicions seem to beset every aspirant for chelaship? Mahatma KH perhaps already explained this in the past in his previous letters, but he proceeds to tell Sinnett once more and advises him to always remember it. Although this question, it cannot be answered so easily as his query was about the distressing events. This question has a more occult and deep meaning. So, but Mahatma Ji still tries to explain to him, and he says that in the old times, a person who aspired to join the Masonic lodges, he was subjected to a series of tests, a series of very frightful tests. And these tests, they were designed to check his constancy of purpose, okay, whether he will stick to his goal. So constancy of purpose and to check his courage and presence of mind. That means no matter what difficulties would assail him, whatever risks, whatever dangers would come in his way, and he would be subjected to them, would he still want to continue on this path of occultism, on this path of self-realization? So that is why those tests were designed in those old Masonic lodges. Now, how those tests would be conducted? These difficulties and risks for testing the aspirants, they were created artificially. So that is how the test was conducted. Psychological impressions were used and machinery and chemicals, they were used. The aspirant, so he is a very novice, he's a novice. The aspirant or the neophyte, he was made to believe using all these psychological impressions and the machineries and chemicals, he was made to believe that he is falling down some very steep cliff, that is a steep precipice, or he was being crushed by rocks. And he is walking on very thin bridges, like spider web bridges, very high up in the air. And he's passing through fire, and he's being drowned in water, and he's being attacked by wild beasts. So these kind of impressions were made on him psychologically. Now think of it like in our present day, we have these movies. They are for entertainment, but of course, these movies which are 3D, 4D, 5D, what are they? They try to create an immersive experience for us. How? The viewer, his senses are stimulated. So in addition to 3D vision, they will include some smell, some touch, some motions or some vibrations. You know, when you go to the movie theater, and you see these kind of movies. Okay. So you feel that these things are actually happening. You are immersed in that movie. So something similar to this. This, of course, is happening only for entertainment in the movies, but something similar to this you can imagine was done in the Masonic lodges for testing the neophyte. Now, this program of artificially simulating the test conditions, it had been borrowed by the Masonic lodges from the Egyptian mysteries. In Egyptian mysteries, there also similar things were done. Now, they had to resort to all these artificial ways of testing because the secrets of the Eastern knowledge and traditions had been lost in the West. Okay. So, how the system, the Guru Chela discipline, the Guru Chela Parampara, how it was conducted in the Eastern world, that knowledge had been lost in the West. So, how that testing was done, whether the Chela is deserving, whether he could be accepted, they did not know. And they used the artificial means. But now these tests have become obsolete. Now only the psychological side of the aspirant's nature is tested, meaning the subjective side. Okay. So in Europe and in India, the discipline of Raj Yoga that is used for testing. It serves as the course of testing the aspirant. It results in the development of every germ, good and bad, that is latent in the aspirant, in his temperament. So when a chela is tested or a would-be chela is tested using this discipline of Raj Yoga, then whatever is latent in his nature, whether it is a good or a bad thing, it will come up, it will be expressed. And this rule, it is inflexible. That means sprouting of those germs, it is inflexible, it is immutable. No aspirant is exempt from it. And that aspirant might do anything, whether he might actually write letters to the Mahatma or, simply he has a strong desire in his heart for occult communication with the Mahatma. So this knowledge, he only knows it. He just has a desire to communicate with the Mahatma. So he has it in his own heart, in the privacy of his own heart. But still, this rule will apply to him, that whatever is latent in his temperament, it will come to the surface. But at the same time, one more thing should be remembered, that the mind of the aspirant should be receptive to the teachings. Okay, Mahatma Ji is giving an example, an analogy of the rain. The showers of rain, they cannot percolate a rock. So even if some seed or something is buried inside the rock, buried meaning how, if it is already existing in the rock, it will not be able to sprout. Okay. So only when the teachings are absorbed by the mind, then only they bring into fierce action every unsuspected potentiality which is latent in the chela. So mind has to be receptive. A closed mind is not going to bring out neither any spiritual development nor any vices. Okay, nothing will come out of that. And by analogy, he's giving the example of caustic lime or calcium hydroxide. So when it is mixed with water, that is an exothermic reaction. The heat which is latent, it comes out. It gives out the heat in reaction with water. So similarly, whatever is inside the chela, it comes out when the teachings are absorbed by the mind. Now, to succeed in Raj Yoga test, and what does the Raj Yoga test do? It sprouts the latent germs of everything. Okay, everything that is good and bad within the aspirant. So to succeed in that test, what should be done? The aspirant, he should observe and realize his negativities, because everything will be sprouted, everything which he has suppressed. He might, for example, he might outwardly behave as a very nice person, talk very sweetly, but inside, if he has the opposite qualities, all of them will come to the surface. So he has to observe and realize his negativities, and then he should control and overcome them by developing its opposite quality, plus also by developing spiritual discrimination and strengthening all the positive qualities of his character. And he has to maintain trust and faith in the teachings of the masters. So, this is what is required to be done. Self observation is very, very important, and how to overcome any negative qualities that might surface. But very few Europeans they stood this test. Instead, most of them they grew suspicious and they became convinced that the founders and occult phenomena were fraud. And so many scandals and all these distressing events they ensued. So Mahatma Ji considers that their efforts in Europe to bring the people out of their ignorance, it was a failure. He says that going forward, the Theosophical Society would rigidly enforce a policy of absolute neutrality in occult teachings and phenomena, meaning that the occult teachings they would not be imparted en masse to all the members, and the production of occult phenomena it would absolutely not be permitted. Whatever teaching is imparted, it will be to individual members from individuals. So it would be a one-on-one teaching, one-on-one basis. Okay. He gives example. For example, Madame Blavatsky, she could continue to pass the teachings under the guidance of her guru. That was Mahatma M. Or even under the guidance of Mahatma KH by some weekly or monthly instructions. So she could continue to pass it on to Sinnett. But it would be to Sinnett alone, not to his entire group. Okay, so one-on-one teaching. But also, it was true that Madame Blavatsky, she greatly suffered in health and she was on the point of physical death. So the arrangement of teachings could take place only if she was willing and she had the necessary strength to live. So this strength to live, from where it could come? It depended entirely on her will and its powers of exertion. So this gives you an idea that if you exert your will, you can even prolong that physical death and one can continue to live. So that depended on Madame Blavatsky. Now the same thing of passing these instructions one-on-one, it could also be done by Mohini M. Chatterjee. He was capable of transmitting the instructions, but he would be under a pledge not to divulge or give out in public the names of who is sending the instructions, who is the master. He would be under a pledge not to disclose it. And also to keep in mind the fact that these instructions or these teachings, they would not be coming from the Theosophical Society. It was not the TS which was giving out the teachings, and therefore the TS could not be held responsible for any teaching that was given. So that was another point that had to be kept in mind. Then, if you remember, in the previous session, we saw a secret committee had been formed of the Oriental members to receive the teachings, right? So if that committee, if still it remained in place, then something could be done for that too, meaning it could also receive some more occult instructions. But after that Coulomb affair, the Theosophical Society in India, it would never again be compromised by allowing this production of occult phenomena, which were totally and absolutely denounced, whole scale, as fraud by these masses of people who were themselves ignorant and biased. So Master then speaks in an allegory to Sinnett. He says, "The good ship is sinking, friend, because its precious cargo has been offered to the public at large, because some of its contents have been desecrated by profane handling, and its gold received as brass." So the good ship is Theosophy. It is the ship of Theosophy, which can save the people who are drowning in ignorance. When its precious cargo, precious as gold, the cargo is precious as gold. So when its precious cargo of occult teachings, of occult phenomena, when it was given out to public, the doubters and the non-believers, they treated some of this gold as brass, meaning they denounced those teachings and those phenomena as fraud or trickery. So thus the ship which was meant to redeem them, to redeem the people, that ship itself was sinking. Henceforth, I say, no such profane eye will see its treasures, and its outer decks and rigging must be cleansed of the impurity and dross that was accumulated on them by the indiscretion of its own members. So try to remedy the evil done. So going forward, the people who showed such disrespect and irreverence to the sacred ancient wisdom, they would no longer receive the precious teachings. The disrepute, the dishonor which was heaped upon this good ship, it had to be cleansed. It had to be redeemed. The tears had to be cleansed of its dross and impurity. And it was partly the fault or the indiscretion of its own members, which was in a way responsible for this whole debacle that unfolded. So, Master exhorts Mr. Sinnett to remedy the evil that had been done. Then he says, every step made by one in our direction will force us to make one towards him. But it is not by going to Ladakh that one shall find us, as Mr. Lane Fox imagines. Now, this again is one very important statement made by the master, and we should all ponder upon it. So, which is the direction that leads towards the masters? It is not that one has to physically travel to Ladakh or Tibet and then to reach them. That is what Mr. Lane Fox imagined. Many other people also of that time, they thought if they went to Tibet, they will be able to reach the masters. No, not the physical direction. The masters can be reached by following the spiritual direction, by raising our consciousness to their level. They say, are you ready to leave your world and come to ours? Meaning, are you ready to raise your consciousness to their level, to their world? In another letter, Master mentions that once separated from the common influences of society, nothing draws us to any outsider save his evolving spirituality. So it is only by the evolving spirituality, by raising of consciousness, that we can reach them. And what are the steps to be followed to move in this spiritual direction? That Master has given very openly to everyone. The steps have been given by the Master himself in a letter to Madame Blavatsky. And she gave it to us in the form of, we know, the golden stairs. So the Mahatmas, they are the masters of wisdom. And the golden stairs, they lead to the temple of divine wisdom. So each step of the golden stairs is a step towards the master. Okay. Master says, every step made by one in our direction will force us to make one towards him. So we come into more and more affinity with the masters. And the masters, they have no favorites. They break no rules. They are subject to the law of molecular affinity and polaric attraction. This he mentions in another letter. Okay, so anybody, it is possible for anybody to draw the attention of the master and force him in his direction by his own efforts. So Mahatma Ji ends this letter by writing, once more accept my blessings and parting greetings if they have to be my last. I think this was one of the second last letter he wrote to Sinnett. So with this, we come to an end of the letter, and we will have a discussion on this once we have the Hindi translation from Meenakshi ji.
Thank you, Vibha ji. Request Meenakshi ji to continue in Hindi translation.
सभी को नमस्ते और थैंक यू सिस्टर जी। आज हम क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 136 ले रहे हैं। इस लेटर में हम अभी देखते हैं कि मास्टर कहते हैं कि हमसे यह अपेक्षा की गई कि गुण शक्तियों को भौतिक जगत की प्राकृतिक शक्तियों की तरह माना जाए। प्राचीन काल से साधना मार्ग पर चल रहे योगी जिन्होंने अपना संपूर्ण जीवन इस विद्या के लिए समर्पित किया था और प्रकृति के हृदयस्थ रहस्यों को उजागर करने के असामान्य संघर्ष में अक्सर अपना जीवन खो दिया था, उन शोधों के फलों को यानी ज्ञान को थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी में शामिल प्रत्येक विद्वान से न बांटने पर हमें दोषी ठहराया गया। जब तक कि हम ऐसा नहीं करते तब तक गुह्य विद्या अभिज्ञात नहीं हो सकती। इसे जादू और अंधविश्वास के दायरे में बंदी से रहना होगा। किसी की नजर में यह अध्यात्मवाद और किसी की राय में यह धोखा होगा, छल कपट होगा। किसी ने कभी यह सोचा कि गूढ़ नियमों का खुलासा करने से उसमें गूढ़ता नहीं बचेगी, वह सार्वजनिक संपत्ति बन जाएगी। यदि यह गुह्य विद्या को अ, यदि यह गुह्य विद्या साधक को प्रदान किया जाए तो वह इसके रहस्यों को उजागर करने से पहले अपना मरण स्वीकारेगा। सदस्यों के देवाचन और संबंधित विषयों पर उनकी अपूर्ण धारणा और कई प्रतीत होने वाले विरोधाभासों पर उनकी आलोचना पर मास्टर उन्हें अज्ञानी मूर्ख कहते हैं। मास्टर कहते हैं कि वे भूल गए हैं या उन्हें यह कभी ज्ञात ही नहीं था कि जिसके पास भी नश्वरता के रहस्य की कुंजी होती है उसके पास जीवन चैतन्य अमरत्व की कुंजियां भी होती। आत्मविद्या इतनी सहजता से यदि प्राप्त होती है तो हर कोई इसी रेस में सृजनात्मक ईश्वर बनता। तब 6th और 7th रेस की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं होती कि हम ईश्वरीय विकास योजना में बिगाड़ लाते, जीवन की किताब के हिसाब में, बुक ऑफ लाइफ में फेरबदल करते। इसे एक शब्द में कहा जाए तो ईश्वरीय संकल्प से छेड़छाड़ करना है। आगे मास्टर कहते हैं कि क्या आपका लंदन लॉज यह समझ सकता है कि थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी की नींव को हिला देने वाले वर्तमान के संकट हजारों के विनाश या मुक्ति का प्रश्न है, मनुष्य जाति के उन्नति या अवनति का, उसकी महिमा या अपयश का, या इस रेस के बहुसंख्यकों के होने या न होने का विनाश का प्रश्न है। शायद आप में से बहुत लोग बुराई की जड़ को देखेंगे और झूठे दिखाओ और वैज्ञानिक विचारों से प्रभावित होने के बजाय मिशनरियों की निंदनीय करतूतों को जाहिर करके आप स्थिति को संभाल सकेंगे। आगे मास्टर पूछते हैं कि चेला पद के हर आकांक्षी को शंका और कलुषित संदेह क्यों घेरता है। मेरे मित्र, पुराने जमाने में मैसोनिक लॉज में नए साधकों को उनकी दृढ़ता, साहस और सजगता को परखने के लिए अनेक भयावह परीक्षाओं से गुजरना पड़ता था। यंत्रों, उपकरणों और रसायनों द्वारा उसमें मानसिक आभास निर्माण करके उसे यह महसूस करने लगाया जाता था कि वे गहरी खाई में गिर रहे हैं, चट्टानों से कुचले जा रहे हैं, हवा के बीच बने मकड़ी के जाल के पुल पर चल रहे हैं, आग से गुजर रहे हैं, पानी में डूब रहे हैं और जंगली प्राणियों का हमला हो रहा है। यह कल्पना मिस्र के रहस्यों से ली हुई थी। पश्चिम ने पूर्व के रहस्यों को खो देने के कारण युक्तियों का सहारा लेना पड़ा। लेकिन अभी के समय में विज्ञान की विकृति से ऐसी सामान्य निरर्थक परीक्षाएं पुराने ढंग की प्रतीत होती है। अभी एक आकांक्षी को, एस्पिरेंट को उसके मानसिक दृष्टिकोण से परखा जाता है। यूरोप और भारत में यह परीक्षण राजयोग पर आधारित है। परिणाम स्वरूप उसके स्वभाव के हर एक अच्छे बुरे गुणों को विकसित करना है, चाहे वह हमें पत्र लिखे या अपने अंतर्मन में गुह्य विद्या और गुह्य शक्तियों के बारे में तीव्र इच्छा रखे। कोई भी इससे बच नहीं सकता। यह नियम अटल है, अपरिवर्तनीय है। जैसे पानी की बौछार पत्थर को उपजाऊ नहीं बनाती, वैसे ही एक अग्रहणशील मन पर गूढ़ शिक्षण का कोई प्रभाव नहीं पड़ता। और जैसे पानी चूने की गर्मी को बढ़ाता है, वैसे ही इस शिक्षण द्वारा साधक के भीतर छिपी हुई हर क्षमता तीव्रता से उभर कर आती है। कुछ ही यूरोपीय सदस्य इस परीक्षा में खरे उतरे हैं। बाकी सदस्यों में स्वयं रचित संदेह और धोखाधड़ी में दृढ़ विश्वास है। कुछ अपवादों को छोड़कर हम यूरोप में असफल रहे। इसके बाद थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी में गुह्य विद्या और चमत्कारिक घटनाओं में तटस्थ नीति को सख्ती से लागू किया जाएगा। जो भी ज्ञान प्रदान होगा वह व्यक्तिगत रूप में होगा। उदाहरण के तौर पर यदि मैडम लेविट्स्की में जीवन जीने की पर्याप्त शक्ति है और वह यदि अपने गुरु या मेरे मार्गदर्शन में आपके लिए एक लिपिकार के रूप में कार्य करने के लिए तैयार है, तो वह यदि चाहे तो प्रति सप्ताह या प्रति माह आपके लिए निर्देश भेज सकती है। मोहिनी मोहन भी यह ऐसा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इस प्रतिज्ञा पर कि हमारा या हमारे प्रेषक का नाम जग जाहिर न हो। न ही थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी को इस शिक्षण के लिए जवाबदार ठहराया जाए। यदि पौर्वात्य यानी भारतीय ग्रुप बना रहता है तब उसके लिए अभी भी कुछ किया जा सकता है, लेकिन अब से भारत में सोसाइटी को कभी भी ऐसी घटनाओं को दोहराने की अनुमति नहीं दी जाएगी जिनकी सब जगह धोखाधड़ी के रूप में निंदा की जा रही है। थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी का भला जहाज डूब रहा है क्योंकि इसका ज्ञान रूपी कीमती सामान जनता को बड़े पैमाने में पेश किया गया। उसके कुछ सामग्री को कलुषित हाथों द्वारा अपवित्र किया गया। उसके सोने को पीतल समझा गया। अब से कोई भी नेत्र इसका खजाना देख नहीं पाएगा। जहाज के हर बाहरी हिस्से और साज सामान पर उसके सदस्यों द्वारा अविवेकता से जमा की गई अशुद्धता और गंदगी को साफ करना होगा। जो बुरा हुआ है उसे सुधारने की कोशिश करे, ऐसा मास्टर सीनेट से कहते हैं। किसी का हमारी ओर बढ़ाया हुआ हर एक कदम हमें उसकी ओर एक कदम बढ़ाने में आकर्षित करता है, लेकिन लद्दाख जाकर कोई हमें नहीं पा सकता, जैसे कि लेन फॉक्स की कल्पना है। फिर एक बार मेरा आशीर्वाद स्वीकार करें।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. So, Vibha ji, we can now discuss the 7 occult forces that you were mentioning.
Yes. So, but before that, on today's presentation, are there any questions? So we can take up those questions.
Okay, actually, I have a question.
Yes.
So, when you said that the monad, the manas principle merges, and then the monad then is only the atma and buddhi. My question is that until at what stage does that happen? Because from my understanding, the monad remains separate from the atma buddhi component for most of the journey, just like the Parabrahman remains away from this whole evolutionary cycle for all the evolutionary time. Similarly, the monad also behaves like the Parabrahman because it is also the spark. It also stays away from the causal body. But at what stage are you saying that this Atma Buddhi gets attached to the monad? Which initiation, what stage is it?
Okay. I don't think I really get what you are saying, because as per my understanding, see, Atma Buddhi is not separate. It is a part of the constitution of man, the septenary principles. Atma, Buddhi, Manas, it forms the upper triad. Okay. So on this path, the first step is to understand that you are not the personality, and you have to become, or you have to attain, a conscious existence in your individuality. That is the real you, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. Now, this Manasik principle is the principle which causes individuality. It is responsible for individuality. How? The consciousness is universal. Okay. We can say, okay, consciousness, it is the light of Atma which is manifesting through Buddhi. So Buddhi is the Upadhi of Atma. That is what is consciousness or the knowledge at a universal level. So it is universal. How does it become an individual? It happens due to the Manasik principle. So every individual mind, it is a ray of the divine mind. Okay. So this mind is the principle which is concentrating that universality into a individual center. And around this individual center, then the personality develops or it is taken up. So that is how the constitution is formed. So you are right in as much as Atma Buddhi, it is a universal principle. Okay, it is the mind which makes it individual, and then it takes up a personality which manifests on the physical plane through the physical body. Okay, so you have to have a very clear understanding of how this constitution of man is. He is physical on the physical plane, but he is immortal in the upper triad, and he is universal when he reaches consciousness in the monadic level. That is Atma Buddhi. Atma Buddhi, though it is a duad, means
No,
two principles.
no. 1 second. 1 second. I'll just butt in here for that because otherwise it will get long. The monad is on the anupadak plane. It is not in the atmic and buddhic plane, as for my knowledge. Monad is not monad is separated. It is also like something which is above and does not descend into the Atma Buddhi component. Monad is just the spark. This is what I mean. I'm not, if I'm wrong, I'll have to go back to study all this, but this is what
Yes.
I understand.
Yes, it is not easy to get a complete and right conception of what it is, because the principles Atma Buddhi, they are universal. So it is a ray of the monad which
Yes.
condenses into the Mansik principle. Now that also, it is the upper manas, it is pure manas. Okay. That also cannot directly interact with the lower planes. So it is a ray of, again, that Atma Buddhi manas, it is a ray of that triad which descends into the lower four.
I would request Sushma ji to come in at this point because we've been discussing this separately about the monad. Sushma ji, are you ready to talk?
विमल जी, मैं भी समझने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ विभा जी से। आपसे तो मेरी बात हुई है, मेरा भी प्रश्न वही है।
So,
आत्मा
what is your
बुद्धि,
perception?
आत्मा बुद्धि, आत्म
आत्म बुद्धि मनस तो क्लियर है, वो कॉजल बॉडी है, वो इंडिविजुअलिटी है। मोनाड क्या है?
मोनेड जो है वो आत्मा बुद्धि है, और वो अनुपादक प्लेन से जब नीचे उतरता है आत्मिक प्लेन पे, तो वो उसमें कवरिंग हो जाती है। तो आत्मा बुद्धि ही मोनेड है मेरी समझ के अनुसार। विभा जी बताएंगी।
हाँ,
You
over
are,
to you, Vibha.
जी, आपने ठीक बतलाया। Atma Buddhi works together. See, Atma is that is above all the manifestation. It is abstract. It cannot manifest without a upadhi. That is why it requires this upadhi of buddhi to manifest. So it works as a unit. That is why it is called the monad. Atma Buddhi will always work together in manifestation. Otherwise, there is no manifestation of the light of Atma. Buddhi is light of Atma. We have to be very clear in what is the monad. That is what is the monad, something functioning together. They cannot separate. If they separate, it means then they become latent or they become abstract. Okay. And it is a ray of this monad which further is concentrated by manas, by the Mansik principle. That is how it becomes individual. Mind, therefore, mind is called the separative or the divisive principle. It gives a distinct individuality to something which is universal. In fact, there was another concept of even when one attains universality, that means when one attains monadic consciousness or self-realization, even at that point, the individuality is retained. This is one of the biggest truths, I say, which is given out by Theosophy. So you understand that even though Manas will be rendered absolutely pure and in essence it will become one with Buddhi, that is the state of self-realization, even at that time, the individuality of the being will be preserved. But it will be in a universal state. So I think everyone should contemplate and reflect more on this, that what is the constitution of man and how the consciousness will rise from personal to individual and then universal. If anybody wants to add in this explanation or to share their views, you are welcome.
Vibha ji, what we studied what Vimalji was telling may be right. What we went through study of consciousness, monad stays in Anupadak lok.
Yes.
Monad sends rays down to the Atma, Buddhi, and Manas, collect one atom from there. That will become Jivatma, or it has been told in the book. Monad
Right.
will not come down below Anupadak lok.
Correct.
And
You're
that is
right.
what Vimalji was telling. Monad will stay back in the Anupadak lok.
Correct. So that's why I tried to explain to you that the monadic ray is extended down and it is
Yes.
concentrated by the Mansik principle. Regard this statement very carefully. It is concentrated or individualized by the Mansik principle.
Can I say one small thing? We can, I think, understand the monad as some kind of a poetic energy, because it is something which is integrating these permanent atoms, which is there in the Manas, Buddhi, and Atma principles. So it is like unifying these three. It's a unifying force. So I think that maybe we can understand the monad in that way. Makes it more easier to grasp what the monad is.
All right. So as I said, you really need to think for your own self. This is my understanding, which I'm sharing with you. And
It's okay. It will change. All of us develop these ideas, because unless you have a real experience, you don't know the thing. And it is not even important for us to know this very clearly. It can be anything, because ultimately it is not connected to our self-development. None of these things. We have to develop our moral character and who we are. And that is why, when Sinnett and all, when these people were saying, give us occultisting and all that, and these guys were saying, the masters were saying, no, all you have to do is develop your character, because all these other things are not important. Then, and also the same thing with all the London Lodge members, that they want to, after knowing all this, and that is all, even our situation. When you know everything, at the end of the day, what is the thing? You still have to be a good human being. And all the things that you already know, even before you started studying philosophy, still applicable: honesty, straightforwardness, whatever, all the things.
that is very true. See, even if you don't want to follow the path of knowledge, you can just do bhakti, just devote yourself, just total surrender, Ishwar Pranidhan, right? That will also attain you the same level or the same level of spiritual consciousness. You will reach self-realization.
विभा
Yes.
जी नमस्ते।
And Namaste Sharma ji, बोलिए।
विभा जी, वो आदि प्लेन से इसको अनुपादक को सेल्फ क्रिएट कहा ना,
Yes.
तो वो क्या आदि से सेल्फ क्रिएट हुआ होगा ना?
No, it is uncreate. It is not self-create, it is uncreate. Yes, स्वयं ठीक है।
आदि से ही आया होगा ना?
Yes. Adi is abstract, right? It is not manifest. The consciousness and matter both are abstract. On the Anupadak plane is where the awareness arises. So awareness of what? Now again, if you go back to the cycles, you have this planetary cycle, then you have the solar cycle, and then you have the cosmic cycle. Okay. So the monad, it comes from where? It comes from the previous cosmic cycle. Okay, that's why they are called uncreate. They were there in the previous cosmic cycle. And then when the cosmic manifestation happens after the Mahapralay, then this consciousness awakens again. That is why they are uncreate.
ओके, थैंक यू।
विभा जी, मोनेडिक एसेंस और मोनेड में भी अंतर है क्या? मोनेडिक एसेंस और मोनेड।
See, what is the essence? Everybody's essence is the, we can say, Parabrahmic essence, spark of Parabrahma. Monadic essence is nothing, it is the light of the Atma. Atma is abstract spirit. How does it manifest? Through, or rather, pervading the Buddhi. Okay. So that light of Atma, the one reality, the one truth, that is what is there in the Buddhi. So essence of Buddhi, you can say, is light of Atma.
तो फिर वो मोनेड जो है वो अनुपादक प्लेन से नीचे उतरता है, तभी तो जब हम लोग इस क्रिएशन की बात करते हैं तो जो मेंटल का सबसे फर्स्ट सब प्लेन है, तो कहते हैं ना मोनेडिक एसेंस वहां है, और वो उसमें खाली जो है वो जो एटॉमिक प्लेन है उसमें वो मोनेडिक एसेंस है। तो जब वो नीचे उतरता है तो मोनेड तो उतर रहा है ना नीचे।
Now, this pertains to the 7 occult forces which which we just touched in our last session.
हाँ।
So you are right. See, every plane has 7 subplanes. और उसका जो subplane है, you're saying that is called as the monadic essence, right? Right?
फर्स्ट मेंटल प्लेन का फर्स्ट सब प्लेन।
Yeah, okay. And even in the lower planes also, it is the same thing. So can I just tell you about those 7 occult forces? Now, what Theosophy says that the 7 occult forces, they refer to the 7 rays, right? And these rays, they represent the 7 distinct spiritual energies or the qualities. 7 forces are the 7 energies or the 7 qualities which permeate the universe. 7 qualities, ये बात याद रखिए. Why I'm saying this is because it is matter which has the characteristics of quantity and numbers, but it is spirit which conveys the characteristics of quality and color. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज मैं आपको बतला रही हूँ. मैटर कन्वेज क्वांटिटी एंड नंबर एंड स्पिरिट कन्वेज क्वालिटी. तो जो फोर्सेस की बात हो रही है, it imparts 7 distinct qualities. The forces are equivalent to qualities. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now, matter and spirit, इन दो चीजों की बात की. Matter is going to convey quantity because matter you can divide, you can count. Okay, so quantity and numbers. And spirit is one whole. It is indivisible. It has quality. And it can bring in 7 qualities by 7 distinct types of vibrations. So this is how the 7 planes are manifested. Okay, force is inherent in consciousness. Okay, before saying that, coming to force, understand how spirit and matter they come into existence. What Theosophy tells us that there is just the one element, which is the one reality. Okay, now for manifestation to happen, this one element, it polarizes. Okay, so there is a spirit pole and there is a matter pole, and everything in between, it is a gradation from spirit right down to matter. These are the 7 cosmic planes, right? This much is clear. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So the 7 planes, they are formed due to this polarization. Now what happens, how these 7 planes are formed? The reason is that the force which is inherent in consciousness, it acts on the matter. So now what exactly is happening? Let us consider this highest plane, Adi. So here everything is abstract. Spirit is abstract, matter is abstract. So the force is latent. Okay. Then come to the next plane, Anupadak. So here what happens? The force, it is imparting a quality or a sense of awareness in the substance. Substance is of Anupadak plane. So it is imparting the quality or the energy or the sense of awareness. That is in the Anupadak plane. That is why monads are conscious, aware. Okay. What is the substance of that 6th cosmic plane we are talking about? It is Chinmay. Because Chid is awareness. Sat Chit Anand. Chid is awareness. So the substance is Chinmay. It is golden. That is what is the Hiranyagarbha. If you read in the Secret Doctrine, Madam Blavatsky has explained these things. Now this is like an explanation which is very much given in the Vedanta. Okay. So the Chinmay substance, it is what you may call at the Anupadak plane, which is called the Hiranyagarbha or the manifested cosmos. Now come below the Anupadak plane, the next plane. Here, now the third kind of force will come. First force was abstract. Second force imparted the quality of awareness. The third force, it imparts the quality or the sense of sound, which is hearing. Okay, Shabda. So the matter of that plane is called Akash. And that is why quality of Akash is Shabd. Then you know the next 4 planes will follow. The next force, it will impart the sense of touch, which is Sparsh, and obviously that plane is the Vayu. Substance is Vayu. The next force after that, it will impart quality of sight or vision, which is called Roop. So the substance here on this plane is Tejas. Okay, Akash, Vayu, Tejas. Then again, on the next plane, the consciousness, the force in that, it will impart the quality or the sense of fluidity to the matter. Matter is fluid, apas. Substance is apah. That is liquidity, rasa. Okay. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Ras. And then last is Gandha, which is Prithvi. So these are the 7 forces. These forces are arising from consciousness and they are imparting this quality to the matter. That is how the 7 cosmic planes are created. And our solar system is existing only on the lowest plane, which is called Prithvi Tattva or the terrestrial plane. And again, this plane is divided into 7 subplanes. Okay. So what you are calling the monadic essence, and then each one is again divided into 7 subplanes. That is right. Because all the 7 forces, each of the 7 forces is again divided into 7 sub-forces. So total 49 forces are there.
Vibhaji, Bimalji was telling building character is more important. Is it possible to build a character without jnana?
Of course, why not? You see, during the Bhakti Kal of in Indian tradition only, all our saints, Mirabai and Sant Tukaram and everybody, all the saints and all, what did they do? Bhakti. When you reach the Parakashtha of Bhakti, Gyan automatically comes within you. You don't have to, run after Gyan. In fact, the Gyan Marg is more difficult and dangerous than Bhakti Marg. Because in Bhakti Marg, you develop humility. And in Gyan Marg, it gives rise to pride. I know everything. So, of course, without running after knowledge, just by bhakti, you can attain the same.
And one more thing you were telling about the quantity and quality. We know more about quantity than quality. It is very difficult to understand about quality. Quantity, it is visible.
Correct.
It's very difficult to understand about the quality.
Correct. So the basic qualities are imparted by the force of consciousness to the matter. And those qualities we have just seen, they are sound and touch and sight, all those.
Yes, thank you.
But in fact, to this, I want to add one more thing. See, these were the 7 forces which conveyed the quality to matter. Okay. But this force is also acting on the side of consciousness. See, nobody asked me the question that the 6 Shaktis which are mentioned in the theosophic literature. So T. Subbarao, he mentioned that these forces of nature, they are the 6 Shaktis. They are there in nature. Why? From where these Shaktis are arising? Because that force which is inherent in consciousness, it is not only conveying quality to substance, it is also inherent as a conscious force in nature. So 7 forces. So 6 are these Shaktis which are listed, and then the 7th one is their synthesis. The Shaktis which are mentioned, it's given in the secret doctrine also. It is the Parashakti, the Iksha Shakti, Gyan Shakti, Kriya Shakti, then there is the Mantrika Shakti and Kundalini Shakti. 7th is their synthesis. So if you go into the study of the forces, it is not simple. The bhakti is the place or the marg you can follow. But yet, a student of theosophy is urged to understand these things. Yes, Vimalji.
No, like I have heard Pablo Center describe these 7 planes and like spirit. Now we know that spirit, matter, and the connecting link is Pahat or energy. Spirit, matter, energy. So the first plane, all 3 are equilibrized, equal in quantity. The next plane, the spirit is more, matter is less, and energy is less. Then the next plane, spirit is less, energy is more, matter is less. In each one, so the three spirit matter energy in each plane will come little in different combinations. So ultimately, in the physical plane, it will be matter more, spirit least, and energy less. So matter will be the most. So this is how he describes what you are talking about. I think they're called tan mantras, no? What are they called in this thing? Yeah, but that is also so. And then you talked about the Shakti, the six Shaktis also. I mean,
Tanmatra.
all of
It
this
is called Tanmatra.
10 mantras. And I think, I mean, all this is so complex. And to integrate all this in one's mind and understand it, understand evolution, combining all the other aspects which we already know about cosmogenesis is not easy. Because this part of it, I'm sure you can do it at some future date, maybe. This integration of everything that is given.
What you have mentioned, Vimalji, is absolutely right. And it is yet another way of putting the same things. Consciousness, energy, and substance, they exist at all level, and it is that which forms the different worlds, depending on which is more and which is less, in what combination they are, manifesting. Now, this same thing, if you study in a different philosophy, it will go into the three gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, right? And the different
Correct.
consciousness, that is Sat Chit Anand. So it is the same thing. It is just the terms that you are using and how you're explaining. But what you mentioned is absolutely right.
See, because whatever we are discussing about monadic essence and all that, but we have to remember that there are three logi over there. So the first logi is the one which gives that monadic spark to the man. So that work is done by that first logi. So that part, the fact that this Trinity is there. So the Trinity aspect is also there. Then the septenary aspect is also there. The philosophy is complex. It's not easy to grasp. And like I said, if you could integrate the Hindu side of it, the Hinduism side of it, with all these tan mantras and all that, with the theosophic side, it will become a little more easier for people because it becomes a little confusing when somebody is quoting tan mantras and then talking about the theosophic language. It's difficult to integrate all that.
Yeah. The purpose of theosophy is to understand more deeply and correctly your own traditions, your own beliefs. So I guess that is the real thing which comes out of this. And the Pancha Mahabhut and the Panchatan Matra, they have been explained by, there is an author called I think Ramchandra. I'm forgetting Ram Prasad. He wrote a book called The Finer Forces of Nature during the time of Madame Blavatsky, and Madame Blavatsky, she commented on that also. She said that yes, these are the things, but they go towards the tantric marg. It is tantra.
Oh, okay.
And she says that it very quickly it can degrade into black magic. So she has warned of the consequences, and she exhorts the members that not to get into the studies of all those forces. You stick to what is being, given here in the teachings. But it gives an understanding into what is the reality behind those tattva.
Nice, very nice discussion. Anybody else wants to share?
For Vimalji, I think a pedigree of man, page number 40 and next, you will find about the monad. Just
Okay.
I am also reading. I am not so much grasp, but today only I read. I listened this thing. Pedigree of man, above
Okay.
page number 40, 46.
Okay, ma'am.
You may
I think
go
we can
through
go.
it and.
Okay, I don't have that book right in front of me, so I will not know what you are talking about. But if you have any question pertaining to that, we can discuss it. Sheetalji?
No. About this Tanmatra, Monad, and three gunas become 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it is there.
Right, okay. Okay, so what she's saying is it is included in some theosophic literature somewhere. Okay. See, reference.
I do agree that theosophy gives us more clarity to understand Sanatan Dhyan.
Correct, correct, correct.
And all Upanishads have the same knowledge, and if we know the theosophy, we can know them more well.
Correct. We can correctly interpret them. See, my shortcoming is that I am not a scholar in Sanskrit, so I cannot read the Upanishads and understand what they are saying. But when I understand what is written in theosophy, and then when I look at those shlok or the commentaries on them, I can more readily understand what is the truth behind them. That I think is a big advantage. Any other questions? So this discussion, I think, leaves a lot of room for thought, a lot of things to contemplate on.
Yeah, Upanishads, Sanskrit part is definitely difficult. But if we go on our languages, then we can understand what are the contents.
Right, right. We always have to rely on the commentaries on which are given by some scholars.
I think we can end the session now. Everyone can go back to reading again and getting things clarified to their own mind. Thank you so much, Vibha, for a wonderful evening. Thank you, Meenakshi ji, also for your translation. Let's all join together in a closing prayer. Asatoma Sattam, Tamasoma Jyotirgam, Mrityorma Amritam Gam. Om Shanti Shanti. All good wishes to everybody.